So man has a peace plan for Israel, but God also has a peace plan for Israel.
He does. You know, the Lord knew, and he had this come out with Jeremiah around 590 BC. He points this out because the prophecies had talked about a time when the Jews would come back out of the nations of the world into the land of Israel. And we saw this beginning its fulfillment in 1948 when Israel was reborn again. And God knew, knowing the end from the beginning, that that would be an issue.
Yes.
Because the ancient Arab hatred had not gone away. They still hated the Jews. It was now blanketed in the religion of Islam. So he knew that he would have to create a resettlement program to bring the Jews back into their land and take the Arabs out of the Jews' land, put them back into their states. And so what he says in Jeremiah chapter 12, verses 14 through 17, it says in Jeremiah, this was God's compassionate peace plan. Thus says the Lord God, Jeremiah chapter 12, against my evil neighbors. Notice what he's calling the neighborhood over there, the Arabs around Israel. He's calling them evil neighbors who touch the inheritance which I caused my people Israel to inherit. That is dealing with the land, the promised land of Israel. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land and pluck out the house of Judah from among them. Forceful language. I will pluck the Arabs out of the land that's going to be Israel, and I will pluck the Jews who had been during the diaspora into those Arab states. I'm going to pluck them out and bring them back into the land of Israel. And he says, and I will return and have compassion on them and bring them back, everyone to his heritage and everyone to his land. This is a compassionate land for peace deal. He's going to give the Arabs their states back. And we see this happen after World War I with the Ottoman Empire being collapsed. You had I think it was Egypt around 1922, Iraq around 1935, Syria and Jordan, Saudi Arabia 1935, Syria and Jordan, I believe that was around 1946, and then Israel 1948. We're talking about a land for peace deal extraordinaire. God has resettled those environments there. But he goes on to say this, and it's a compassionate plan, perfect plan, it would work. And he did what he was supposed to sovereignly to make that happen. And Israel gets rebirthed in 1948. But he goes on to say in verses 16 and 17 of Jeremiah chapter 12, and it shall be, if they will learn carefully the ways of my people, they, meaning those evil neighbors that got their Arab states, if they will learn the ways of my people to swear by my name, the God of the Bible, as the Lord lives, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then they shall be established in the midst of my people. Now let's just unpack that for a minute. What he's saying there, Jeremiah is saying that with the same zeal that you worship the God of Baal, the Jews back during the time when Jeremiah wrote, they were worshiping Baal and they were sacrificing their children to Baal. What zeal was that? A false God. God is saying, worship the true God with the same zeal that my people used to worship that false God. And I will have compassion on all of you. I will establish you in the midst of my people Israel. But here's the deal, folks. And remember, they're not worshiping the God of the Bible. They're worshiping Allah. Here's what he says. But if they do not obey these evil neighbors who got their statehoods, they're part of God's compassionate plan. If they do not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation, says the Lord. Folks, we're talking about the destruction of Arab nations. And we have prophecies in Psalm 83 and toppling of Jordan in Jeremiah 49 and Zephaniah 2, destruction of Damascus and Isaiah 6. We have prophecies that seem to be related to them being out of compliance with God's plan, utterly being plucked up and destroyed.